Hello and welcome everybody to Q&A with Pharmacist Ben Fuchs and myself, Rebecca Kozak and John Timo Collier, where we provide this program as a resource to you for nutritional and business information that is going to help you create a life that is empowered and one of my favorite terms, better by the minute life. But we just want to welcome you and encourage you to really take notes, because there's going to be a lot of information that is shared here that you are not going to want to forget. Now, please understand that for legal reasons, we have to let you know that the products that we speak of today are not meant to treat, prevent, diagnose, or cure any diseases. And the content of this program is not regulated by and has not been evaluated by the FDA. It is intended as a presentation for nutritional information only and how your body is able to respond to quality and complete nutrition. It is in no way meant to take the place of your medical physician. So please sit back, enjoy as we introduce to you Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, and we're talking about health. Of course, health. How about the heart? It's February.
This phenomenon known as broken heart syndrome that's associated with that. I think I'm losing you here a little bit. So the heart is not just a physical organ, it's also an emotional organ. And in fact, it's also a mental organ. You have brain cells in your heart. Your heart has a concentration of cells that are similar to the cells in what's called the limbic system of your brain. And these cells are responsive to the kinds of thoughts and the kinds of feelings that you have. So it's not just a physical organ, it's also an emotional and a mental organ, which we know intuitively, but now we know it scientifically as well. And that's really important because a lot of times we get off track. We get to focus on nutrition and nutritional supplementation, as important as it is. But as I've always said, health is multidimensional. The health of the body and the health of the organs and the health of the heart is mental, it's emotional, it's spiritual, as well as physical. And that's really important. I always know when somebody is supplementing or doing everything correctly or changing their lives nutritionally, and they can lose a bunch of weight, but the last few pounds they can't lose, or they can lower their blood pressure a lot, but the last few points they can't drop, or they can lower some other metric of their health significantly, but the last little bit they can't do, or they plateau. A lot of times people will supplement and they'll notice great benefits, and then they'll just plateau. They'll stay steady. There's usually some emotional, mental, or spiritual component that's not being addressed. And the heart is no different than any other organ in the body in that respect. But from a physical perspective, probably the most important aspect of nutrition when it comes to taking care of the heart is the blood sugar system. And heart disease and cardiovascular problems and blood cholesterol issues and blood fat issues should always be regarded as blood sugar issues as well. At first and foremost, as blood sugar issues. And when I say blood sugar issues, I didn't say diabetes. A lot of times people will go to the doctor and they get the blood sugar tested, and the doctor will say, "Oh, your blood sugar's fine, it's normal." But what they don't recognize is that your blood sugar starts to go awry. You start to suffer from messed up blood sugar long before you're officially diagnosed as a diabetic. And if you're dealing with any kind of cardiovascular health issue, whether it is hypertension or heart disease or strokes or kidney disease or what's called metabolic syndrome, which affects the liver, and obesity and is associated with neurological issues, work on your blood sugar system first and foremost. And to me, you hear, according to the official statistics, diabetes is the third leading cause of death behind cancer and heart disease. Heart disease first, cancer second as leading cause of death, and diabetes. But actually, because of the association between diabetes or dysglycemia and cancer, and between diabetes or dysglycemia and heart disease, blood sugar issues, diabetes, are the number one cause of death. They're the number one cause of health misery, and they're the easiest, it's one of the easiest health challenges to deal with, because blood sugar issues are simply a question, for the most part, of what kind of foods we're eating and what kind of drinks we're drinking. Now, stress hormone also plays a role, but for the most part, dysglycemia is an eating disorder. It's an eating issue. And it's so ironic that we have all of these health strategy, all of these medical strategies involving drugs and diagnostics and all the money that's spent on diabetes by the American Diabetes Association for diabetes awareness. And it's so simple to lower your blood sugar. All you have to do is change the way you eat and add some nutritional supplements. And if you want to really go all out, some exercise. And that's pretty much it. If you change the way you eat, and that means what you're eating, but how much you're eating, because calories in general can have an effect on blood sugar, and you start to supplement with key supplements, which we'll talk about here, and you exercise, not even a lot, and you make sure you're hydrating and drinking water, there's no way, without drugs, there's no way that you're not going to be able to lower your blood sugar and lower it quickly. So if anybody's having a problem lowering their blood sugar, just know that one of these four aspects, you're not addressing one or more of these four aspects, as calorie intake, nutritional supplementation, movement, and hydration, because that's really all you need to do to lower your blood pressure or lower your blood sugar and lower it significantly. As far as the heart goes, Rebecca pointed out that this is heart, I think is it, Rebecca, you say National Heart Month? I know it's Valentine's Day, but is it?
It's Valentine's Day. Yeah. So I mean, the symbolism that's really associated with February is the heart and love. So yeah, that's why we chose heart for kind of the topic.
So as far as taking care of your heart goes, focus on all of the blood sugars from a supplementation perspective. Focus on all the blood sugar supplements. The sweeties, chromium, vanadium, two most important minerals for lowering blood sugar and potentizing insulin. Selenium, super important for potentizing insulin. Sulfur, super important for making insulin. Nothing beats the B complex of vitamins, especially vitamins B1, thiamine, which is mostly a blood sugar processing supplement. Niacin, vitamin B3, which is not even, I don't even think it's part of the healthy blood sugar pack, but it's incredibly important for lowering blood sugar. In fact, niacin has a reputation for being just as powerful as statin drugs for lowering blood cholesterol. And that's a really important point because it demonstrates how there's the relationship between blood sugar and blood cholesterol. Diabetics all know that they're at higher risks for elevated blood cholesterol. And one of the main reasons why we suffer from this hypercholesterolemia, elevated blood cholesterol, is not because our bodies are, because we're eating too much cholesterol. It's because our bodies are responding to excess calories. Cholesterol is a building substance, and we have, by the standard American diet, by the kind of foods we're eating, we have tricked our bodies into thinking that they're supposed to be building. In other words, for millennia, when calories came into the body, that was supposed to signal building. Because of our excess ingestion of calories today, without the need for calories, our blood sugar, the body senses elevated blood sugar. It thinks that we need to be building. It thinks we need to be repairing. It thinks that the body should be in a what's called an anabolic mode. And so it starts cranking out all the building chemicals. Cholesterol is a major building chemical. In fact, that's cholesterol's main role in the body, is to build things. And so we have tricked our bodies by excess ingestion of sugar and excess ingestion of calories into thinking it's supposed to be building. So it cranks out that cholesterol. And this is why elevated cholesterol is associated with elevated blood sugar and increased caloric intake. So if you want to lower your blood cholesterol, it's not a question of a statin drug. It's a question of reducing your intake of calories and turning off that anabolic switch. Or conversely, if you're eating a lot of calories, work out, turn those calories into energy, turn those calories into building. And we all know, or people who work out know, that if you're a bodybuilder, you tend to have higher cholesterol. If you're recovering from surgery, your body will make more cholesterol. When the body has needs for building, it will crank out the cholesterol. So if your cholesterol is high, you don't want to poison the body to turn down the cholesterol making machinery. You want to turn off the signals that the body is receiving from the kind of foods we're eating that tell it to make a lot of cholesterol. Now, niacin is a sugar processing, it does a lot of things. I don't apply only this, but one of its main roles is it's a sugar processing supplement, sugar processing nutrient. There's a molecule in the body that's part of how the body processes sugar called the glucose tolerance factor. And the glucose tolerance factor is a complex of molecules that's involved in sugar processing, and it's made up of chromium and niacin, partially. So that's one of the reasons why chromium is so important, and it's one of the reasons why niacin is so important for helping lower blood sugar. By virtue of the fact that it can help you lower your blood sugar, it helps you lower your cholesterol too. Niacin's got multiple roles to play. We've talked about niacin before. Niacin is, in the business, we say it's pleiotropic, P-L-E-I-O-T-R-O-P-I-C. Pleiotropic means it has multiple benefits, multiple beneficial effects in the body. Niacin is critically important for the brain. And anybody who's worried about dementia, or if you have a relative who has dementia, or you know somebody in a nursing home, get them on niacin. It's dramatic what it can do for helping slow down the progress of dementia. In fact, we know that the three cardinal signs, or actually the four cardinal signs of niacin deficiency are, they call it the 4 Ds if you go to medical school: diarrhea, dermatitis, dementia, and death. Those are the 4 cardinal signs of pellagra, which is niacin deficiency disease. Now, you don't have to suffer from full-blown diarrhea. You can have just mild niacin deficiency, and you may have some GI problems. So supplementing with niacin can be very important for intestinal health, for folks who are dealing with ulcerative colitis, for folks who are dealing with irritable bowel syndrome. You don't have to have full-blown dermatitises to have niacin deficiencies. You may just get red skin. You may just have sensitive skin. You may just have skin that is sensitive to the sun. You may just have skin that's sensitive to topical skincare ingredients like retinol or alpha hydroxy acids. If you find that you're one of those people who everything I put on my skin makes me sensitive, it could very well be that you're suffering from subclinical niacin deficiency. There's other things too, but that's one of the things. And then the third sign of pellagra, which is full-blown niacin. And by the way, in the South, they used, back in the post-Civil War days, it was very poor in the southern part of the United States. There was a lot of damage to the Civil War. A lot of people were out of work, and they were subsisting on foods like corn that was niacin deficient. Niacin, there's not a lot of niacin in corn, and the foods that they were subsisting on down south after the Civil War were niacin deficient, and niacin deficiency disease was very common. Pellagra was very common in the South post-Civil War. A lot of the folks who suffered from niacin deficiency or pellagra, they go out and they would be farming and sharecropping and doing their work, and they would end up with really red necks from the pellagra. And this is where we get the term redneck, just a little historical anecdote there. The term redneck refers to the red necks that Southerners would get when they suffered from niacin deficiency disease and they were out in the sun. The third sign of niacin deficiency disease, pellagra, is dementia. But you don't have to have full-blown dementia to have niacin deficiency symptoms. You may be just subclinically, or that is, just have a little less niacin in your system than you need, and you may be forgetful. You may have memory problems. You may have confusion. You may have learning disabilities if you're a kid. Niacin plays multiple roles in the body. In fact, niacin is so important for the body that it's the one vitamin. Remember, the vitamins are essential. That means your body can't make them, right? You have to get them from the diet. Niacin is the one vitamin that the body will actually make if it is severely deficient. That's how important niacin is. There's biochemistry that will allow niacin to be produced under conditions of severe deficiency. It's that important. And by the way, as far as brain health goes, niacin is even being used now to treat a social anxiety disorder, believe it or not. And also, it's been shown that schizophrenics tend to be deficient in niacin. It's like people suffer from psychotic. As far as the heart goes, because of its ability to help the body process sugar, niacin is one of the most important cardiovascular nutrients. And niacin is also a wonderful vasodilator, meaning it helps open up blood vessels. So for folks who are dealing with hypertension, high blood pressure, it makes a great natural antihypertensive. In fact, some people will experience something called the niacin flush, which is a manifestation of vasodilation. The niacin flush is when your blood vessels open up and blood starts to pour into your face and into your fingers and into tips of your ears. and it can kind of feel a little bit uncomfortable. Nonetheless, that niacin flush is a sign that blood is starting to circulate better than it ever has circulated before. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a blood circulation benefit. There are forms of niacin, no flush niacin, that you can get, but the flush isn't necessarily a bad thing if you can deal with it. It is a little bit uncomfortable. Not everybody gets the flush. And using your ultimate EFAs, if you are one of those people that suffers from the niacin flush, using your ultimate EFAs can diminish the likelihood of getting the niacin flush. And folks who are deficient in essential fatty acids tend to flush more readily than people who have EFA. So it could very well be that the flush is associated with omega-3, particular omega-3 deficiencies. Then, as far as blood sugar reduction goes, you want to relate calories to blood sugar. Any calories. A lot of folks think that it's just carbohydrates that will raise your blood sugar. Well, it turns out that protein can raise your blood sugar also. And so if you're doing the carnivore diet, or you're trying to lose weight by laying off the carbs, but you're eating lots of protein, you should be aware that the body is very efficient at turning protein into sugar. There's a whole biochemical machinery that's in place in the liver that makes sure that you're not going to be low, you're not going to have low blood sugar. And if you eat a lot of protein, you can, if you're eating a lot of protein to lower your blood sugar or lose weight, just know that that may not occur. So if you're trying to go carnivore, or you're trying to just go low carb, but you're still not losing weight, or you're still not lowering your blood sugar, it could very well be that you're eating a lot of protein. So keeping all of your calories low. That, by the way, is one of the problems with how we apply the ketogenic diet. A lot of times when people hear about the ketogenic diet, they hear about the low carb part of the ketogenic diet and the high fat part of the ketogenic diet. Turns out the ketogenic diet is definitely a low carb diet, and it's definitely a high fat diet in terms of percentage of calories, not in terms of total calories. So in other words, you can't eat 3,000 calories and have a high percentage of your calories coming from fat. You got to have 1,200 calories. In fact, the ketogenic diet is more of a low calorie diet than it is anything else. And that's one of the problems people have with the ketogenic diet. When they don't get the benefits that they want, they got to keep their calories down. Calories are, in a sense, calories are have the same impact on the body as sugar. High calorie and high sugar have the same kind of biochemical impact on the body. Then there is the cortisol, the stress hormone relationship to blood sugar. And a lot of times people are doing everything correctly in terms of diet, but they're not necessarily getting the blood sugar benefits that they want, or the weight benefits that they want, or the heart health benefits that they want. That could very well be because their cortisol, their stress hormone, is high. When your body's under stress, cortisol goes up, and cortisol, stress hormone, sends a message to the liver to release sugar into the blood, because the body thinks that there's an emergency and it needs to put sugar into the blood. Of course, that blood, once the sugar goes into the blood, your blood sugar goes up, and that initiates that whole insulin cascade, insulin system biochemistry. The insulin pulls the sugar out of the blood. The sugar goes into fat cells. You get fat, and then your blood sugar is low, so you go out and eat more sugar, or your cortisol goes up and it releases more sugar. And this whole vicious cycle can keep going forever, really. So lowering your cortisol is also another important strategy, especially for folks who are doing everything correctly, but they still can't lose weight, or they're doing everything correctly in terms of nutrition, but they still can't lose weight, or they're doing everything correctly in terms of nutrition, but their blood sugar is still high, or they're doing everything correctly in terms of nutrition, but they can't get their their heart metrics under control. Chances are pretty good their cortisol is high. You can tell your cortisol is high by various symptoms. If you can't sleep, if you can't fall asleep even though you're tired, or you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't fall back asleep, or you wake up in the morning after a full night's sleep but you're still tired, those are all indicators that your cortisol is high. If you have what's called postural hypotension, where you bend down and then stand up real quick and you feel dizzy, that's an indicator that your cortisol is high. There's a condition called POTS, which some of you may have heard of, which is an acronym that stands for postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, POTS. And that's a condition where you move from a seated position to a standing position and your heart races. That's another sign that your cortisol is high. So if your cortisol is elevated, even if you're doing everything correctly from a nutritional standpoint, you still may find that you're not stabilizing your blood sugar, or you're not losing weight, or you have other symptoms of elevated blood sugar like heart disease or high blood pressure. Lower that cortisol. There's lots of ways to do that. We talked about that, I think, on our last program with the de-stress, vitamin B5, vitamin C, zinc. These are all great nutrients for helping take care of the adrenal glands. And don't forget slow, deep breathing. That's the unbelievably important and unbelievably easy way to protect the heart, to lower cortisol levels, and to reduce all of the other symptoms that are associated with elevated cortisol, including tachycardia, heart racing, or postural hypotension, where your blood pressure drops when you stand up and you feel dizzy and woozy, or you have problems sleeping. In fact, using slow, deep breathing techniques help you while you're in bed and you can't fall asleep. Making sure you're practicing slow, deep breathing techniques. You may find that while you're in bed, if you're really paying attention, you may find that you're breathing really fast. If you're one of those folks that can't fall asleep, or that wakes up in the middle of the night and can't fall back asleep, you may find that you're breathing really fast. Start paying attention to the rate of your breathing, and then consciously try to slow it down. And that can have a nice cortisol lowering effect and calm you down, help you fall asleep. So when it comes to taking care of your heart, the most important thing you could do is take care of the blood sugar. There's lots of nutrients for doing that. But there's also just nutrients that are great for the heart. Of course, magnesium is super duper important. The entire B complex is super important. One of the reasons I like the Beyond Tangy Tangerine so much is because it's loaded with the B complex, and it's loaded with the B complex in liquid form, in a drinkable form. The water-soluble nutrients, that is vitamin C and the B complex, should be drank for best effect. They're water-soluble, they go into the water phase, and if you put them in liquid, they're easier for the body to absorb. That's one of the really neat benefits of the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. And some other nutrients that are important for the heart: zinc is really important, vitamin E is super important, vitamin A is super important. You'll find all these in products like the Ultimate Daily from Youngevity, the Immortalium from Youngevity. Immortalium, by the way, is a really neat supplement to take for cardiovascular health, even though it's not marketed as such. And then last but not least, certainly not least, in fact, arguably maybe most important, are your Ultimate EFAs, with both omega-3 and omega-6 in the Ultimate EFAs have incredibly important cardiovascular health benefits. And in fact, omega-3 deficiency, most people know about fish oil for cardiovascular health, but omega-3 deficiencies, fish oils, by the way, is not an essential fatty acid. Your body can make fish oil. There's still very fish oil fats, DHA and EPA, but they're still very important for the heart. So don't forget your Ultimate EFAs when it comes to taking care of the heart. Blood sugar, lower your cortisol, reduce your calories, and use nutritional supplements that are specific for the heart: the B complex, magnesium. Calcium is also very important for the heart. Potassium is important for the heart. Zinc, vitamin E, and also vitamin A. Is that too much? TMI?
No, that's not too much. I mean, going through and listening to all the things that you were mentioning and all of the symptoms that can be had with blood sugar issues. And I'm thinking back, it's like, check, 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 all these things that I now can be thankful that I don't have to deal with, because I've listened to you. I've listened to Dr. Wallach, and it really does work. I mean, the body's incredible. It can do some amazing things where it's not the nutrition that's doing it, but it's the body and how it uses the nutrition to be able to have a better response.
We're not, the mainstream doesn't want us to know how powerful our bodies are. The mainstream wants us to think our bodies are weak and that we have to be intervened. Our biochemistry has to be intervened with medicalization, with pharmacology, with inoculations. The message that our bodies are strong doesn't make anybody any money. The message that our bodies are strong is not a message that really is something that corporate medicine, the pharmacomedical model wants to promote. It can't profit off of that. We don't need medicalization. We need to have the basic building blocks that the body has evolved with for millions of years to just be put into the system. And it's as simple as that. Ideally, it should be in food, by the way. I hate that I have to supplement. I wish everything lived in the Garden of Eden and you could just pull the apple off the tree and it would have all the nutrients it needed, all the nutrients it was supposed to have in it, and all the vegetables would have all the nutrients they're supposed to have in it, and the animals that ate the vegetables would have all the nutrients that they're supposed to have. But that's not the case anymore, that's why supplementation is so important. And I don't see how you could be maximally physically healthy in the year 2022 in the United States of America unless you're on a good supplementation program. And and it is tricky to supplement. This is why longevity is so important, because it's tricky, really tricky to supplement. It's hard to know how to supplement. Longevity makes it so easy. And while here in this room, we're all participating in this conference, and we're on this webinar once a month, and we're on multiple webinars. Many of us are on multiple webinars, listening to multiple shows. We're participating in health. Don't forget, the majority of Americans, the masses of Americans, are not supplementing. They don't know how to supplement. Even if they want to supplement, many of them don't even know how important it is. They have no idea where to begin. Longevity makes it so simple. And that's where the business opportunity comes in. You don't even want to look at it like a business opportunity, although it is a wonderful business opportunity. Look at it as you're saving lives. Look at it as you're opening people's minds and opening people's eyes and opening up people's bodies to the idea that they can supplement in an easy, simple way where they can have their product drop shipped to them once a month. And you just open up a box and they have everything they need for a month for $150 or whatever it is. They can have every one of their mighty 90 essential nutrient needs met. And that's, to me, that's the most important thing that longevity does, is it makes nutritional supplementation this super important but super complicated subject and super complicated issue easy. It makes it easy to apply. It makes all of these kinds of wonderful little tidbits of health that we talk about here easy for people to apply in their real lives, simply by taking a scoop of Beyond Tangy Tangerine, taking 3 or 6 Ultimate EFAs, a couple capfuls of the OsteoFX, and that's a minimum, but that alone will make a huge difference in people's lives. I'm sure some of you have experienced that either with yourself or with your clients.
Here's Beyond Tangy Tangerine, OsteoFX, collagen peptides, bone and joint formula, and I'll tell you what, I love it. I absolutely love it.
By the way, when it comes to heart health, here's another really important point that we don't really talk, even healthcare professionals don't talk about this. The heart sits on a skeleton of collagen. The heart is largely muscle tissue, but it sits on a connective tissue framework, on a skeleton. So collagen peptides and building connective tissue is a great strategy for heart health, especially for people who are dealing with conductivity issues, meaning tachycardias or arrhythmias or fibrillations, any of these issues that affect the conductivity, the electrical energy of the heart. You want to think about building connective tissue, that is building collagen, and that's where the collagen peptides come in. I forgot to mention that. Building connective tissue and building collagen is another important cardiovascular strategy, not just for the heart, but also for the blood vessels.
So talking about the heart, Ben, I know at least one person who has their hand up that has a question that's related to a question that's been put into the comments by another person that has to do with the heart. And with one's heart, that they had a vaccine. Okay, they had a heart attack, and now they're trying to recover from that.
Wait a minute, Rebecca, they had the vaccine, then they had a heart attack?
And then they had a heart attack.
Wow. Well, that's one of the things. That's one of the things that's associated with the inoculation is vascular problems. As we talked about earlier, when you stick things into the heart or stick things into the blood, even if it's IM into the muscle and then into the blood, reactions can happen. The blood is there's not supposed to be a lot of things in the blood. There's the only things that are supposed to be in the blood are things that the body's used to, like food, basically, proteins and minerals and vitamins. Those are the things that are supposed to be in the blood, hormones, etc. You're not supposed to have strange foreign substances stuck into the bloodstream, and having blood clots and having blood problems, having heart problems, which are the known effects of this inoculation, shouldn't be a surprise. What you've done is you've inserted things into the blood via the muscle that shouldn't be there. And so it's not out of the realm of possibility that heart disease or heart problems, we'll say, and blood clots would happen. And that is indeed what happens. So what is the question? How to deal with it?
So Tanya, do you want to go ahead and ask your question, if you would, please?
Yes, thank you. So I do have a cousin that developed really, really high blood pressure, and she was hospitalized. And it's not confirmed they are going to see a cardiologist, and yet she had just, I don't know when she'd had the vaccine, but they are kind of wondering if it's related. Regardless, she's been fit her whole life and very, very fitness oriented. And then all of a sudden she has high blood pressure so bad she was hospitalized for days. So,
So
and
that could very well be related. You know, I can't tell you yay or nay, but it's certainly
mhm,
not out of the realm of possibility. And so what do? Well, you know, everything we talked about, whenever you're dealing with an extreme condition like that, extreme response to something, whether it's a drug or whether it's an inoculation or whatever it is, you just have to do everything everybody else has to do, but you have to do it with more vigilance. You have to do it with more regularity. So this is the one that should be doing the healthy heart, healthy brain heart pack every day with more vigilance, with more regularity. Throw in all the blood sugar nutrients as well. Throw in the niacin and the selenium and the sulfur. I think I talked about the sulfur is important for the production of insulin. A lowering caloric intake, very important. Exercising, drinking water. You know, something as simple as drinking water, literally by definition, lowers by increasing blood volume, it lowers blood sugar concentration. Anybody who's a diabetic who checks their blood sugar will know first thing in the morning their blood sugar is higher. That's because the blood volume tends to be reduced first thing in the morning because we haven't drank any water for 6 hours or 7 hours or 8 hours. Maybe we've gone to the bathroom once or twice in the middle of the night. So the blood is stickier and more concentrated at first thing in the morning. So your blood sugar is higher. If that's you, drink water, drink 2, 3, 4 glasses of water first thing in the morning, and you'll dilute your blood sugar. Likewise, for anybody who's worried about blood sugar issues, for the gal with the cardiovascular health issues, I don't know if necessarily if she has blood sugar problems, but that can help. Anything she could do to vasodilate. Hypertension is caused by blood vessels closing. Vasodilation is blood vessels opening. Vasoconstriction is blood vessels closing. Hypertension is when the blood vessels close. And by the way, when the blood vessels are closing, this is really, really important what I'm going to say here. When the blood vessels are closing, when the body is determining, for whatever reason, that the pressure needs to be higher, it will close the blood vessels, or not close them entirely, but tighten them, constrict them. The purpose of vasoconstriction, the body is not stupid. It doesn't do things for no reason. The purpose of vasoconstriction is so the blood can be delivered with higher pressure to various organs. Constricting the blood vessels increases the pressure. The reason the body is doing this is because it determines that there's not enough oxygen getting to certain areas. So it's wanting to constrict the blood vessels. When you take a blood pressure lowering drug, like a beta blocker or whatever antihypertensive you're taking, a vasodilator, you're mechanically or artificially or pharmacologically forcing the blood vessels to open. That drops the blood pressure. But what it also does is it deprives various tissues of the oxygen they're supposed to get, because the body raised the blood pressure because it's trying to get more oxygen to certain areas. So you want to really be very careful about artificially opening up the blood vessels with pharmacology, with drugs. On the other hand, by making sure you're oxygenating correctly, by breathing, practicing slow, deep breathing techniques, moving your body, and using valuable nutritional supplements that improve oxygenation, you can naturally lower the blood pressure. And that's what you want to really look for when you're hypertensing. When your blood pressure is high, you don't want to pharmacologically poison the system to open up the blood vessels. You want to figure out how can you increase oxygen delivery so the body will naturally vasodilate, naturally open up the blood vessels. And that's where movement comes in, exercise becomes very important, slow, deep breathing techniques, etc. Also, there are nutrients that can naturally induce vasodilation. Magnesium is one of the best natural vasodilators. For your friend, I don't see where that gal is. Okay. For your friend, have her using Osteomag. Also, the ultimate niacin is a vasodilator. Vitamin E is very important for oxygenation. So anybody who's hypertensing should be using high doses of vitamin E. By high doses, I mean 400 international units a day or even more. Coenzyme Q10 is also important. I forgot to mention that when we were talking about the heart. That's one of the most valuable cardiovascular supplements. And many of you guys know that statin drugs artificially dumbing down or turning off the cholesterol making machinery. They also turn off the coenzyme Q10 making machinery. So many folks who are on statin drugs are going to be deficient in coenzyme Q10, and coenzyme Q10 is probably one of the most important non-essential cardiovascular nutrients. So anything she could do to improve cardiovascular health, anything she can do to improve blood vessel health, circulatory health, and that's not just supplements. That's also the movement, exercise, as well as the breathing techniques, slow, deep breathing techniques. All right.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Ben. Let's go next to our first hand that is up, and this is Bruce. Yeah, Bruce, go ahead and try to unmute yourself, my friend.
Me?
Bruce.
Oh, Bruce.
Try again. There
Hello?
you go.
Hi, Bruce.
Hello, Pharmacist Ben, Rebecca. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I remember you were talking about, drinking water when you first wake up. My problem is that before I go to bed, around 7, I'll have a glass of water or two, and then I have to wake up maybe every couple of hours to,
Literally every couple hours? From one glass of water, you wake up every couple hours?
Yeah, about two times a night or something like that, 2 or 3 sometimes.
Well, you know what? You should be so happy that your kidneys are working so well.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, you're doing well. You're doing good.
All right.
Might be, waking up is not great in the middle of the night. If you don't, I hope you don't have a problem falling back asleep, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. For guys who are waking up, so I don't know if you've ever experienced this, Bruce, but as men get older, sometimes, not everybody, they'll go to the bathroom 6 times a night. Or even 7 times a night. Yeah, can you imagine that? Yeah. And that's a prostate issue. That's a prostate issue. Sometimes men will have the urge to go to the bathroom, but nothing will come out. So, going to the bathroom twice a night after a glass of water, that's not the end of the world. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I wouldn't worry about that.
Okay, yeah, because I've been supplementing and taking all the 90 essential nutrients and
your kidneys are working. Your kidneys are working. Praise God, your kidneys.
All right, great, man. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you, Bruce. Let's go ahead and go to the next hand. And the next hand is Dimitri. Let's see.
Hey, Dimitri.
You should be able to unmute yourself now.
There's Dimitri.
There you go.
Oh, thank you. Hello.
What's up, Dimitri?
Hi. Yes, I'm on the Central Nutrients and love them. Love you guys. Love your show. I would like to have great skin like Ben and Rebecca. And I've listened to you a couple times, Ben, about the mandelic acid and the high alluronic acid. And I'm taking, the Beyond Tangy Tangerine and a lot of other stuff. And I feel great. And I thank you guys so much for everything that you do. But I still have quite a bit of acne that I'd like to get rid of. And I don't know what else to do.
How old are you?
I am going to be 58 next month.
Okay, so would you say it's acne in the forehead?
Forehead. I used to have rosacea a lot, but the vitamins helped with that quite a bit. But I still have some acne on my cheeks and my forehead.
That's not a skin problem. That's an immune system problem. You're dealing with an immune reaction. All right? That's not you get the difference? You're dealing with immune. When you're breaking out, when you're a teenager, that's associated with hormones, typically, not always. It can still be an immune reaction with teenagers, but typically teenage boy or teenage girl acne is associated with a surge in various hormones, particularly testosterone, and also sometimes insulin is involved. But when you're breaking out, when you're older, especially the way you're describing it linked to rosacea, you're dealing with an immune system problem. In other words, you're dealing with a reaction. Your body is reacting. Now, when you have a reaction, just by etymology, just by the derivation of words, reaction is a response to an action. So when your body is reacting, it's responding to something you're doing, right? You follow me?
Yes.
You have a reaction. Your job is to figure out what that action is.
Okay.
Your immune system is reacting to something you're doing, to an action. It's reacting to an action. It's responding to an action. That's what a reaction is. So if you have rosacea, or you have a history of rosacea, that's telling me that you have a digestive issue. Rosacea is associated with what's called achlorhydria, also known as hypochlorhydria, which is a fancy way of saying you're not making enough stomach acid. When you don't make enough stomach acid, there's a bacteria that can proliferate called H. pylori. You heard of this? H. pylori. No. H. pylori is a bacteria. It's been in the news for the last few years. I remember when I graduated pharmacy school a long, long time ago, in 1986, the best-selling drugs for folks who were was a drug called Tagamet and Zantac. Those were the best-selling drugs, and I used to fill maybe 30 or 40 prescriptions a day for Tagamet and Zantac. Probably 25% of the prescriptions that I filled when I was graduating were for Tagamet or Zantac. Tagamet and Zantac were anti-ulcer medicines, and every year they'd be the number 1 or number 2 or number 3 or number 4, and they'd be in the top 5 drugs sold every year. Tagamet and Zantac were given for ulcers, for stomach ulcers. Stomach ulcers were thought in the 1980s, and even before, but certainly in the 1980s, were thought to be caused by too much stomach acid, and Tagamet and Zantac were drugs that depress stomach acid. Then, somewhere in the 1980s, a couple of scientists one guy's from Australia, I think the other guy's from the UK, said, wait a minute, I'm not sure it's acid that's causing ulcers. We think it's this bacteria that's causing ulcers. Bacteria called H. pylori, Homeophilus pylori, I think. H. pylori, anyway, it's called. And they were laughed at, and people thought they were stupid, and everybody knew that ulcers were caused by too much stomach acid. These guys are crazy. And they couldn't get anybody to read their papers. They couldn't get anybody to publish their papers. They were getting frustrated. Everybody was laughing at them. So finally, one of the guys took a big old jug and filled it with H. pylori bacteria and drank the whole thing. Just to prove, he drank all of this H. pylori bacteria just to prove that H. pylori does indeed cause ulcers. And guess what? He was right. And they ended up getting celebrated as the discoverers of the H. pylori link to stomach ulceration. And indeed, not only does H. pylori cause stomach ulcers, but H. pylori is also associated not with too much stomach acid, but too little stomach acid, achlorhydria. And today, if you have ulcers, they'll give you an antibiotic. They don't give you Tagamet anymore for ulcers or Zantac. They give you antibiotics to kill the H. pylori. Well, guess what? Rosacea is likewise associated with low stomach acid, H. pylori, and achlorhydria, with the bacteria H. pylori and low stomach acid, I should say. So what you want, your history of rosacea tells me you're not processing things correctly at the level of the digestive system. Start acidifying your stomach using your ultimate enzymes, which contain something called betaine HCl. Betaine HCl is a natural stomach acidifier, has multiple benefits, by the way. Betaine is great for the connective tissue that we talked about earlier. Betaine is made up of an amino acid that's critical for the production of connective tissue. So betaine HCl has multiple benefits, but it'll also acidify the stomach. That's in your ultimate enzymes. Use your ultimate enzymes with meals, and always use a little bit of apple cider vinegar with your ultimate enzymes. That will activate the enzymes and will support stomach acidification. You should have any meals without your ultimate enzymes and some apple cider vinegar.
Okay.
Use your essence, which is still my favorite probiotic. You'll have to play around with the dose a little bit. And then also,
I'm sorry, you cut out. What was the last one you said?
Called Nightly Essence. Nightly Essence.
Nightly Essence?
Yes, Nightly Essence.
Okay.
Also, there's a new digestive supplement, which is awesome, called the Daily Digest. I don't know if you've seen that. Have you seen that, Rebecca? It's little packets.
Love it.
Yes, it's awesome.
I love it.
It's awesome. It's great for people who want to supplement, but they don't want to put a whole bunch of things together. You just rip open the packet. You do it every day. It's $30 to a box. And then also, what I would suggest for you, Dimitri, is see if you can associate your pimples, your breakouts, with specific foods. So start to chart. Do what's called a food diary, where you write down everything you eat, and then you write down how your skin, what your skin is looking like. So you'll write down your meals for the day, and then next to it, in one column on a piece of paper, and then next to it in another column, what your skin looks like that day. And start to notice trends between the foods and specific breakouts or specific food issues or specific skin issues. And by the way, oily skin is another sign that your body's reacting to something. So if your skin, you notice that your skin is oily, I don't mean moist, I don't mean soft, I mean oily, like sebum, secretions. You notice that your skin is oily, you're getting blackheads, that can be associated with the wrong kinds of foods, especially sugar foods. Also can be associated with stress hormone. That whole cortisol thing we talked about earlier, another sign of cortisol secretion, excess cortisol, is blackheads and oily skin. So that'd be another thing. It could be related to stress hormone. You might want to approach it from that angle as well. And then topically, think of something called you mentioned mandelic acid. Mandelic acid is something called, one of a family, part of a family called alpha hydroxy acids. You may have heard that term. Glycolic acid, lactic acid, and mandelic acid. Using that topically can help. That can help get rid of skin oils, which can clog pores, and it can help soften skin. In fact, everybody over the age of 40 should be using alpha hydroxy acids on a daily basis, on a regular basis, not necessarily daily, but on a regular basis, if you're interested in keeping your skin youthful and soft. But if you have breakouts, it can help with smoothing and softening the skin and eliminating breakouts. But don't consider this a skin issue. Most importantly, consider it an immune issue. And of course, your immune system is located in your digestive system. So it's a digestive/immune issue.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You bet. Stay in touch. I'd love to hear how you're doing.
Okay.
My email is ben@ksco.com. K for King, S for Sam, C for Cat, O for Oscar.com. So stay in touch. I'd love to hear how you're doing, Dimitri.
Okay, will do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dimitri. Now, Pharmacist Ben, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, but I'm going to do it anyways. You have a Valentine's Day pack that has many of those acids that are very beneficial for the skin available right now. So I just want to throw that out there.
Say that again. I did. You mean you're talking about
your Valentine's Day? So your Valentine's Day pack with Truth Treatment Systems.
Okay, Truth Treatments. I don't. Yeah. Okay, I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's actually in the mail on its way to me.
Oh,
so
is that right?
I'm excited. Ordered this afternoon when I saw it.
I want to throw something else in there.
I just want to put a little plug in for Ben, because he does have amazing skin, and he's used his experience and his actual.
At the bottom.
Say that.
Coach Cosmo? Is that Coach Cosmo there?
Yes, Coach Cosmo's here.
Cosmo, we love Cosmo.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Yes,
Nima.
we do. Lots of positive energy there. I love it.
He's a great human being, Nima. We're proud to have you, Nima. Coach Cosmo. There he is.
He's awesome. So he has his hand up, and we will get to him. Sorry, gotta wait, Nima, because Cindy is next. Another amazing individual. Cindy, go ahead and unmute yourself. And if you can come on camera, that would be fabulous, my dear.
Oh, I can't today, but I promise you I will soon. And you are amazing and wonderful. And thank you so much for just keeping, I always say, Dr. Pharmacist Ben, amazing. And just thank you for this so much. I love you. Quick question, kind of spinning off of what Tanya said, I'm keeping a lot of notes on people who are having issues after what she said, and really blessing a lot of people, like with you, Pharmacist Ben, as far as the immune system, and Dr. Wallach, everything he said about the gluten. So I always tell them immediately, when you've had this procedure done to you, you need to get on that protocol immediately and get rid of the gluten. And then I just wanted to ask you, as far as following up on that with the immune system, because it's all about the immune system, because the immune system, 75 to 80% of all issues, and our immunity is there. So if you can just address that a little bit, I would appreciate it. And you mostly touched on everything, but I'm like Nima, I have so many questions, so I'm off.
All right, well, there's a couple things. First of all, that whole gluten, couple things about gluten. That reminds me for Dimitri, gluten can be an issue there too. We did talk about digestive issues, but gluten can definitely be a problem. And gluten is associated with skin problems, including rosacea. But a second thing about gluten is sometimes we focus on gluten so much that we start eating gluten-free foods, for like gluten-free bread and gluten-free pastries and gluten-free beer and gluten-free pizza. There's all these gluten-free foods, and we forget that there's a lot of things in grains that are problematic that don't have anything to do with gluten. So you can still react to oats, for example. Oats contain something called avenine, which is not gluten. Oats don't contain a lot of gluten, but they contain avenine. Oats do contain gluten, but if you eat gluten-free oats, you may still be getting the avenine. Or if you eat gluten-free corn, you still may be getting compounds that are in corn. And corn doesn't have a lot of gluten, but you could still be getting other compounds. So the focus on gluten sometimes doesn't serve us. Yes, gluten is a problem. Gluten, the key part of the word gluten is glue. And gluten has a gluing effect, has a sticking effect on the intestine, and it can create inflammatory problems. But it's not just gluten that does it. There's lots of compounds in grains that could be problematic. Does that mean grains are not a good food? Well, in nutrition, it's not that simple. Grains contain lots of wonderful, wonderful, valuable nutrients, but they also contain anti-nutrients. So you got to kind of see how your body is responding. And don't think that just because something is gluten-free, that it's necessarily going to be a good food for you or something that isn't going to cause problems. Beans don't have any gluten in them, but beans cause all kinds of health problems for some people. So, seeds don't have gluten in them. A lot of seeds don't have gluten in them. Grains are seeds, by the way. And that's really the issue, is nature protects its seeds. Grains are seeds, they're grass seeds. So nature has put elements in seeds that keep animals from eating the seeds. Supposedly, human beings, we're not the brightest of all the animals, even contrary to what we hear. We eat the seeds that we shouldn't be eating. We pay the price. Point being, it's not just gluten that's the problem. There's lots of other things that are the problem. There are lots of other components in grains and seeds and vegetables and plants that could be problematic, and you just got to see how you're responding to a specific food. Just because something's gluten-free doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be okay for you. Secondly, Cindy was talking about the immune system. This is the way you want to think about the immune system. The immune system is your defense system. It's a jungle out there. Everything's trying to eat everything else in life. This is what the earth is like. This is what life on planet Earth is about. It's about everything trying to eat everything else. Everything exists by virtue of the fact that it eats something else. And that's just unfortunately the way the world is. However, our bodies, and not just human bodies, but all animal bodies, have evolved a defense system to protect it from attack. That defense system is called the immune system. Your immune system is your Army, Navy, and Air Force. This is why immune suppressant drugs are so problematic. Immune suppressant drugs suppress the Army, Navy, and Air Force. Never a good idea to do that. The mechanism, the tool, the weapon of the defense system, the weapon of the immune system is called inflammation. Inflammation is how the immune system shows up. Inflammation is like an airbag. If you break your leg, God forbid, or break your ankle or sprain your ankle or get a black eye, you'll see puffiness. That puffiness is like an airbag that protects the tissue underneath from the damage. When a tissue is damaged, it secretes the damaged tissue, the broken cells leak out, and enzymes are secreted and acids are secreted. And if there was no protection, all those acids and all those damaging liquids, those damaging fluids would destroy tissue. So the body walls off the damaged area. If you break your leg, the body will wall off the damaged area with a little shock absorber bag, and that shock absorber bag protects the leg or protects the break. That's a good thing. You need that. Inflammation is your friend. Inflammation is one of your body's best friends. However, inflammation also creates a problem, because while inflammation is a temporary airbag that protects the break if you break your leg, or protects the broken tissue if you get a black eye, over time, that airbag will keep nutrients from getting into the area. It's a blockade, it's a wall. It will keep oxygen from getting to that area. It will keep toxins from leaving the area. So you'll end up with this area that's not getting fed, not getting oxygenated, and not getting nutriated, or not getting detoxified. Now, ordinarily, that's not a problem, because inflammation is only temporary. Once the leg heals, the inflammation goes away. That's not a problem. However, there's a second kind of inflammation. There's an invisible inflammation. If you have an area of your body that's not getting nourished, or it's not getting oxygenated, or it's not getting detoxified, that area, that microscopic area, will die. And as with any kind of death, there's always fluids that are secreted, enzymes from dead cells. Cells open up and all their acids and all their inner contents leak out, and they can be very damaging. So again, the body will do the same thing it does for a broken leg, except it will do it for a microscopic area, for a small area. That's called microinflammation. Macro, big inflammation, is your leg or your ankle or your eye. Microinflammation is the same effect, but microscopically. Again, that's not a bad thing if it's temporary. However, over the course of months and years and decades, we end up with lots of little pockets of microinflammation. And that means we end up with lots of little pockets in our bodies. By the time we're 40 or 50 or 60, we've got 40 years of poor living, or 50 or 60 years of poor living, 50 or 60 years of not getting enough nutrients, 50 or 60 years of not getting enough oxygen, 50 or 60 years of toxicity from chlorine and water and cigarette smoke and bad food and all the things that we do to our bodies in our 21st century American lifestyle. We end up with lots of pockets of microinflammation. Microinflammation, like with macroinflammation, will keep oxygen from getting to areas, will keep nutrients from getting into areas, it will keep toxins from leaving areas, and then you get more microinflammation. And that will keep oxygen from getting into the areas, and nutrients from getting into the areas, and toxins from leaving. You get more microinflammation. And so you get this downward spiral of microinflammation leading to low oxygen, low nutrients, and toxicity, leading to more microinflammation, leading to more toxicity and more starvation and more suffocation and more microinflammation, and on and on and on this goes, until one day an entire area will not get its needs met, and you'll go into some kind of disease. You'll go into arthritis, or you'll go into kidney disease, or you'll go into heart disease. You'll go into some kind of disease, not realizing that it's been building up for 40 or 50 years via this microinflammation, hypoxia, low oxygen, malnutrition, low nutrition, and toxicity, and more microinflammation, vicious downward cycle. So yes, the immune system is important, but it has to be on and then off. It can't be chronically on. We have a culture today where we're attacking our bodies every day. We're attacking our bodies every minute of every day with the kind of foods we eat, the kind of water we drink, lack of nutrition, our stressful lifestyle. All of these conspire to create an immune system that is always in defensive posture. It's always on. It's never calmed down. And that's a huge problem. So suppressing or keeping the immune system quiet by good living, by making sure you're getting enough nutrients, by making sure you're breathing correctly, by making sure that you're not putting toxins into the system, by making sure that you're improving detoxification through regular bowel movements, through supplementation that can help with detoxification, through respiration, breathing out. Breathing out is one of the best ways to detoxify your body. Drinking enough water, all the things we have to do. But the key point the solution is everything we've been talking about. But the point is that we don't recognize the micro-inflammatory process until it's too late. We don't recognize the micro-inflammatory process because it's invisible. It's microscopic. That's why sometimes people say to me, probably say to some of you guys, I was just minding my own business and I got arthritis. I was just sitting there watching TV, and all of a sudden I got arthritis. It's not like you just got arthritis. It's that you didn't notice the micro-inflammatory process was occurring in your joints for 20 or 30 or 40 years. And then all of a sudden it reached a critical mass, and that's when you noticed your symptoms. So taking care of your immune system by good quality living, everything we talk about, most importantly, not putting toxicity into your body, is critical for longevity. And that's the immune system, that's the invisible immune system connection to chronic disease.
That's incredible. So how many learned something right there? Who had a learning moment on inflammation with micros and macros and how it affects the body and how we need to give our immune system a break by incorporating the nutrition, by incorporating removing toxins from our environment, from our food? We have to keep our immune system healthy, and by doing that, that's giving it the opportunity of not always being in combat mode.
By the way, the inoculation that everybody's talking about, what that does is it keeps your immune system hyped up. That's one of the big problems with it. It makes your body think it's always under attack because now you're producing the attacking agent. This is one of the hidden problems that nobody talks about with this inoculation, is that your immune system is always on. Immune system is only supposed to secrete antibodies when it's being attacked. Now you're always secreting antibodies, and nobody knows the long-term impact of that.
Well, I know I don't want to learn the long-term impact of that. And I know many of the people that are on with us do not as well. So making sure that we share this information with other people and let them know what what keeping your body in a crisis mode is actually doing to their health, and depleting the nutrients within. And I love, Ben, let's go back to the heart really quick, because you were talking about it's not just the physical, but the mental also that helps the body stay healthy. And you had asked me a question before we went on, and your opening monologue really addressed many of the things that I've been thinking about in regards to, okay, why have I hit a plateau? How come I've lost this 100 pounds and I still have that 20 pounds that I just, I'm having challenges. I'm not going to say can't. I'm just having that challenge of being able to get off. And there's so many factors to that. And so I appreciate the fact that you brought that up. That
cortisol, stress hormone, will keep you from losing weight, and the mind-body connection, or elevated cortisol is a classic sign of how the mind affects the body. When the mind thinks that your body is in duress and cortisol goes up, one of the things that's going to happen is it's going to be hard to lose weight.
stress, what's that?
Stress, by the way, is your friend if you handle it correctly.
If that's right. And learning how to handle it correctly is all part of this process.
Cortisol, stress hormone, gets you out of bed in the morning. When we're healthy, there's a big surge of cortisol that kicks in as soon as the sun comes up, which is one of the reasons, by the way, you want to have the windows, you don't want to have the shades open first thing in the morning so you can get some sun into your eyes. That's how we wake up. Sun goes into our eyes, we get a surge of cortisol.
Yeah, and I have no problems getting up in the day. I have no problem staying going through the day. And when it's time to go to bed, I'm out. And that's not something that I experienced before taking the supplementation. I mean, I used to drag myself out of bed, and now it's not a problem. I love it. Let's go to the next hand that is up. And we have Rob. Rob, go ahead and unmute yourself as soon as I find the button to ask you to do that. There it is.
There you go.
All right.
How's the audio? Okay.
It's a little staticky, but go ahead. Let's see how it goes. You might need to turn off your video to make it clear. We'll see.
Try that. Okay. Hi, Ben.
Hey, Rob. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you doing? Yeah, I want to relate, first of all, before anyone considers a vaccine, make sure you do Nutrify to put less stress on the body, especially the heart. So that's really important.
Hey, Rob,
yes,
Rob, are you Rob from Canada that I
that's
talked
me.
to?
Yeah,
Hey, how you doing, man? Let me see what you look like.
I had it on before. Let's see if it works again. There we go.
Hey, how you doing, Rob?
I think it's the first time you ever saw me too.
That's the first time I've been talking to Rob for years.
There-
Nice to see you, Rob. Thanks for
years, but seems like it. Okay, so regarding blood sugar levels, also, should we be considering looking at the insulin response as well, as well as oil consumption, and considering that as I guess part of the inflammation, oxidative stress of the body.
Yeah.
I think that's very important to look at. Oil consumption is really.
The oil thing's really important. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a really good point. Oils, fried oils, processed oils, heated oils, and most of the oils we ingest are processed somehow, are very inflammatory, meaning they're very immune activating. They're especially inflammatory for the gut, for the digestive tract. So anyone who's dealing with digestive health issues, irritable bowel syndrome, ulcerative colitis, or leaky gut. We didn't talk about leaky gut, and it's a huge subject, and we should probably, I don't want to digress too much, and maybe we could make that a topic for our next discussions, is leaky gut. But leaky gut, that's when toxins literally get into the bloodstream through the intestine, are behind all chronic health challenges, all of them. And this is where I came up with the concept of the triangle of disease, which I've talked about before. We can do that next week. But your point is very well taken here, Rob. Fried oils, fried fats, processed oils are very damaging to the digestive tract, to the intestine. They can cause inflammation at the level of the gut, and that's where all kinds of toxicity can enter into the bloodstream, taking us into the disease race, chronic disease race. If you're dealing with any kind of chronic disease, backtrack it to the intestine. And if you're dealing with an intestinal problem, one of the most important things you could do, and this also goes for Dimitri with his rosacea, is lay off the oils, especially deep fried ones, any kind of heated oils. But keep in mind, all oils, even when you buy them at the grocery store, are already heated and already processed. So laying off oils can be important. Now, there are nutritional oils that you can use, and this is where I disagree with a lot of folks who say lay off all oils. There are nutritional oils that are you can get in, you keep in the refrigerator and you use them fresh, and those can have some really important nutritional values, but you got to be really careful with them. And if you really want to do it, you want to take no chances. The ultimate EFAs are basically nutritional oils in a protected capsule. Thanks for bringing that up, Rod. That's a really important point.
Yeah, make sure your essential fatty acids are prevented from oxidation as well too, in that respect. So that's extremely important, I believe.
Thank
in that.
you.
So
vitamin E protects oils. You'll always see vitamin E in the ultimate EFAs because vitamin E is an oil protecting vitamin. So if you are ingesting, you should be, but if you are ingesting fried oils or French fries and potato chips and the kind of foods that you don't want to eat, vitamin E can have a protective effect. But still, it's just a good idea to lay off of those kinds of foods.
Oh,
the average American eats French fries 5 times a week. Not just French fries, let alone other fried foods.
Yeah.
One of my little kind of vices is I like to watch the Food Channel. I don't know if you ever watch the Food Channel. I don't like to cook really, but there's something I find food very fascinating. And they're always talking about fried foods, and almost all the foods that they talk about, or almost all the shows that are on the Food Channel, talk at least a little bit about deep fried foods. And it's amazing what people will deep fry. Deep fried Twinkies. Have anybody heard of deep fried Twinkies?
Oh yeah. My
Twinkies,
mom used to love to watch the
pickles.
channel.
The Food Channel? All
Yeah,
right. Thank you. I appreciate it. Nice to see you.
Okay, could we bring up also next time with leaky gut, could we bring up the subject of the bone marrow, how leaky gut will affect the bone marrow, since our bone marrow is in fact part of the immune system as well too, which is very, very critical. So we should do that. and along with the actual nutrients required for our bone marrow, for optimum health.
Send Rebecca a note to remind her. And then also, as far as bone marrow goes, the immune system, your B vitamins are your bone marrow and vitamin C, and also essential fatty acids, but especially the B complex.
Yeah, I'd like to know more about scarring of the bone marrow tissue due to gluten too, I guess. So, everybody stay away from gluten.
All right. Thank you, Rob.
Hey, thanks, Ben.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob. All right. And I got that noted. So
All right.
we're good to go for next week. Let's go. Oh, there was a question that Yvonne brought up in regards to oils. So she is in functional medicine and she trains with a practitioner that says that coconut oil is okay. So
Well,
I know that you use coconut oil.
Here's the thing about coconut oil, okay? Coconut oil is not a essential fatty acid oil. There's no essential fatty acids in oil. When I talk about nutritional oils, I'm talking about essential fatty acids. Coconut oil has some good things in it. There's no doubt about it. Coconut oil contains a specific type of oil, a triglyceride called a medium chain triglyceride, which is associated with all kinds of health benefits. It can be especially important for people who have problems processing fats. If you have a gallbladder issue or perhaps a liver issue, you may have an issue processing fats. MCTs, that's what the acronym for medium chain triglycerides, are a type of fat that goes right into the blood. The body can use it instantly. When I used to work in at the hospital as a pharmacist. I worked in the PICU and neonatal ICU departments at the University of Colorado School of Pharmacy. When I was in the School of Pharmacy, I worked at the University of Colorado Hospital, and we specialized in working with infants who had digestive problems. And the first thing you give them is MCT oil, because MCT oil provides energy without metabolism. Athletes use MCT oil because you can get quick energy from it. It's a great way to get fats into your system without having to go through a bunch of processing. Coconut oil is one of nature's richest sources of MCT oil. So coconut oil can be incredibly valuable. It's also important it has vitamin E in it, but it does not have essential fats. Now, it's getting late and we don't have a lot of time to talk about essential fatty acids, but essential fatty acids are just that. They're essential fats. That means you have to have them or you die. And I've been in the skin business for many years. I could tell you, essential fatty acid deficiency, one of the first signs of essential fatty acid deficiencies is skin problems, especially dry skin, but also eczema and psoriasis and various rashes, et cetera, sensitive skin. All these can be caused by essential fatty acid deficiencies. So EFAs are vitally important. The oils I was talking about before are EFA-rich oils. The problem with EFAs is they break down quickly. So if you heat your oils, you're not going to get the EFAs out of them. If you cook with your oils, you're not going to get the EFAs out of them. Not only that, you'll create dangerous oils. You'll create cancer-causing oils, pro-aging oils, pro-inflammatory oils. This is where cooking oils and heating oils become so important. The fats break down. With coconut oil, you don't have any of those volatile fats, those fragile fats. Coconut oil is a very solid oil. So if you're going to eat an oil, coconut oil is one of the better oils to cook with. If you're going to cook with an oil, coconut oil is a better oil to cook with. Plus, you get all of these benefits, these MCT benefits. And keep in mind, the two organs that are using energy the most in the body are the heart and the brain. And MCT oils, by virtue of the fact that they can be used for energy very readily, are very helpful for people who deal with heart disease and also for folks who are dealing with dementia. In fact, there's a lot of literature that talks about using coconut oil for Alzheimer's disease because of this link between MCTs, the body's ability to derive energy from MCTs very quickly, and also for the heart and for the brain. So MCTs from coconut oil are very valuable. Coconut oil also has a little vitamin E in it, but other than that, it's not a really nutrient-rich oil. It is tasty, and it's much more stable to heat than liquid oil. So if you're going to cook with an oil, you really want an oil, that's the oil to cook with. Nonetheless, if you want to really cook with something that has that oily feel to it, butter is going to be your best choice. Although butter smokes pretty quickly, so you don't want to heat it too high. The best thing to do if you want to get enough oils is use butter after you cook. Poach your vegetables or steam your vegetables and then put butter on top of your vegetables. And by the way, you always want to put butter on vegetables, on heated vegetables, if you're dealing with some kind of fat malabsorption issue, because the nutrients in vegetables, especially the pigments, are fatty, and you're not going to be able to absorb or digest or absorb those fats. If you have a gallbladder issue or a liver issue, or somehow your digestive system is compromised, you may end up suffering from sensitive skin, or you may be depriving your cardiovascular system or your liver or other parts of your body that depend on phytonutrients, plant nutrients, because you're not absorbing them. If you're dealing with some kind of fat malabsorption issue, using butter on top of your broccoli or on your tomatoes or on whatever veggies, your cauliflower, whatever, your spinach, will help pull out those fatty phytonutrients and pigments so that your body can absorb them more readily. So butter on top of cooked veggies or steamed veggies is great, and sprinkle a little salt on there if you want to really max out on the nutritional value. And everybody loves butter and salt and broccoli, even children. Steamed broccoli, that is.
Yeah, I was shopping with my son yesterday and I'm like, okay, what kind of vegetables do you want to get? He's like, broccoli. I said, okay, what else? He's
How
like,
old is he?
I only like broccoli, Mom. He's 10.
How old? 10?
10.
That's great. That's awesome,
Yeah.
Rebecca.
So I was happy that he at least would go with broccoli. Well, let's go with Gary because we only have 10 more minutes. So Gary, go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Okay, Pharmacist Ben, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear. Hi, Gary.
Okay, now listen, for years and years, I've been listening to you on Coast to Coast in the morning, like from 1 to 5 in the morning, and always with those tidbits of information on why certain chemicals work with certain foods and why this works with that. And you got to do this and you got to do that. And I'm saying, I wonder what this guy looks like.
Okay.
And then finally, I get to see you, and I had 4 Zoom meetings with Dr. Wallach from September, October, November, and December. I think I even talked to him in January. I was diagnosed with a deep vein thrombosis in September. Didn't know what it was. I thought I hurt my ankle. Well, it was a blood clot, and I was to my wit's end. And then I started. For some reason, I found you guys, and I'm on the Healthy Brain and Body Pack. Now, the thing I have to ask you is, he tells me to take 2 in the morning and at night. Do I drink? I don't want to drink. I like to take this stuff, but I drink it in the morning, but I leave for work. I'm not going to drink this all day long. And I heard you say it's good to sip on this all day long because it.
Put a water bottle, take a water bottle. And you don't need to put a whole scoop in either, but I like to do it to my taste, to do it to where you like the taste. Some people like more, some people like less. Find where it tastes good to you, and then just sip on it all day long. When you run out, do another water bottle with it.
Okay, but now wait, what about the OsteoFX, the part? That
you can do 2 things. You can either do the OsteoFX, you can do 1 capful all at once, or you can add it into your drink, into your Beyond.
Oh, so you can mix them together.
Absolutely, you can mix them.
Okay, if and what did you say? If I don't mix them together, what did you say? You could take that all at once?
Yeah, you can do a capful of the OsteoFX in the morning. Fill up your water bottle with some water and a little Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Sip on it all day. You may do another one in the middle of the day, maybe a 3rd one, and then at night before you go to bed or at dinner time, do another OsteoFX capful. Divided doses. In pharmacy, we call this divided doses. Divided doses are always the best way to maximize absorption of nutrients.
Okay, now you said capsule, but the Brain and Healthy Pack comes with 2 powdered liquid things.
Capful. Not
oh,
capsule.
capful. I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Right.
All right. Well, okay. Well, let's see what else I want to tell you.
So quick, Gary, you might not know.
I'm on Eliquis, which is the blood thinner from the doctor, but I am taking the niacin, I'm taking the selenium, I'm taking the 2 Brain and Health and
Omega fats, omega fats.
Yeah, I'm taking the omega fatty, the
Another-
EFAs and the EFA pluses.
Here's another little hidden gem for you, Gary, because you like these hidden gems. Glucosamine, the glucogel caps, is a natural blood thinner. The glucogel caps. The Fucoid Z is a natural blood thinner.
I started that too.
And oxygen is one of nature's best blood thinners. In fact, one of the reasons why the blood clots is because of low levels of oxygen. So making sure you're practicing slow, deep breathing techniques and moving to increase oxygenation of the blood. Anything you could do to improve oxygenation of the blood will be pro-blood thinning. And also
Okay.
vitamin E is a natural blood thinner.
Okay, and that's all okay to take along with
Well, here's the thing, Gary. You may notice that you're going to have to lower your dose on the Eliquis. So what you want to do is you want to tell your doctor what you're doing. Tell him you're taking all these nutrients. Now, if he says to you, stay on the Eliquis and take off your and don't do the nutrients, you might want to look for another doctor. Because a lot of physicians want to control the blood thinning and they feel like the nutrients, they don't have control over it. But the Eliquis, they have control over.
no,
So
he was very
I think
happy.
I would say lower your dose of the Eliquis and take more nutrients. That's
Right,
me.
right.
Make sure you tell your doctor what you're doing so he can participate with you.
Yeah,
You
no,
guys
no, he was
don't
very
listen- Let me just say this real quick. Nobody has to listen to their doctor and do what their doctor tells them, but you do have to tell your doctor what you're doing.
right.
When you're in a contract with a doctor, a de facto contract, a de facto agreement with your doctor, even if it's not an official contract, it's a de facto contract, you owe it to him to tell him everything you're doing. So he knows how to dose you. He understands what your responses are like. It's only fair if you're going to work with a doctor that you tell him what you're doing. That doesn't mean you have to do everything he says. That just means that you have to allow him to participate in your therapeutic and healing process if you have some kind of relationship with him. And it's not
He was
fair for
very-
me to come in and interfere with that.
He
You
was
have to-
very happy to know that I was on the
You're a
nutrients.
good doctor.
Okay,
Thank you so much. See you.
great to meet you.
Same.
Awesome. And so, Ben, we've only got
Yes.
4 minutes, and I know that
gonna get
you
Nima
have
on.
to be out of here.
I want to make sure to say hi to Nima.
Okay. So, Nima,
Nima.
say hi, Nima.
What's happening, Ben? What's going on, bro?
So nice to see you. I hope everybody knows who Coach Cosmo is. He's one of the most important men in longevity, certainly one of the most important men in our Rebecca and I, our downline. We appreciate you very, very much. You're doing beautiful work, Nima. I've known Nima now for going on 10 years, probably. We've been talking, right? And
That's right, Ben. That's right.
just you're one of the manifestations of the beauty of longevity. Longevity attracts people like you, Nima. Just beautiful, kind, smart people who want to make the world a better place, who are truly dedicated to making humanity's lives better. And that's what you stand for. Right on, Nima.
We're a
Beautiful
team,
man.
baby. We're a team. And Becca, congrats on that show, darling. Can't wait to
Thanks,
listen.
brother.
Thanks,
Thank
Coach.
Thank you.
Cosmo. All right.
All right. Well, we're there. And I know you have another appointment, and we've got to say goodbye.
Next month.
Next month. Absolutely. So for those of you who still have your hand up and we did not get to you, and for those that sent in emails with questions, Pharmacist Ben and I are meeting, and we're going to go through and address these questions, and we'll have videos and little short segments to be
Yeah,
able
Rebecca.
to share. What was that?
Yes, I forgot all about those. We gotta start doing those.
I didn't forget. So anyways, we're going to be doing that for all of you. We hope you all have a fabulous, fabulous February, and happy Valentine's Day for those of you who participate with that. And please limit your sugar. As we heard in the beginning, sugar does a lot. Not just the sugar, but the calories and the way that it affects the blood sugar and the heart is not worth it. I don't think.
All right.
But anyways,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye for now. And we'll see you next month. And thank you, Lance, so much for helping with co-hosting. Dr. Judy Reynolds, thank you for co-hosting. And also John T. McCollier, thank you for all that you do in making these videos happen, making them work, and making the replays available to all of you. For those of you who would like to watch this show again, you can go to YouTube, search for Critical Health News. You will find the Critical Health News YouTube channel there, where you will find all of the replays from the Q&A with Pharmacist Ben, from Ask Doc Live, from Moments of Truth. Sorry, got to get the words in the right order. All of these are there to be a resource to you, to help you gain knowledge, because now knowledge is power. And when we have power, we are empowered. Everybody, have a great day, and we'll see you next month. Bye for now.